Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, we're rolling. It's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James, plus one tonight. This is, basically every week, just a couple dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL. Tonight is episode 71. We're going to do Name That Stadium first, like we always do. Then we're going to hit a recap of the past week. After that, we're going to provide our power rankings and game picks for week 11. And then we're going to wrap things up with question of the week. So, James, man, how's it going tonight, dude?
It's going good. It's just been a little bit of a rough week with the babies, so she has to sleep on daddy's shoulder for a while.
Gotcha. Well, hey, that could make things interesting tonight. Or maybe not if she just snoozes away. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. So far, so good.
Good stuff. All right. Well, hey, let's move it over to Name That Stadium. This is the part of the show where, if you're watching, at least, you can see James is out there traveling the country. Every week he's got a new stadium in his background. We're just asking our viewers if you think you know what stadium that is, hit us up in our comments section. Let us know what you think the answer is. If you're the first person to get it right, we'll give you a special shout out in next week's show. And so, James, where were you at last week, man?
Last week I was in Vegas, what's it, Allegiant Stadium for the Kansas City Vegas game, because I thought it was the best game of the week, although Vegas got beat down pretty bad.
Yeah, and I could see why you picked it because wasn't it last year Vegas upset the Raiders, or was that, Vegas upset the Raiders. The Raiders upset the Chiefs, I
Yeah,
think in their first game of the year.
yeah, at Kansas City they did that, and then remember the bus driver took laps around the Arrowhead after the win just to rub it in, and
Yeah, so I get it. It with the way Kansas City's been playing this year, you would have thought it would have been a better game. But yeah, I mean they just stomped them, man.
yeah, and maybe Kansas City's back. We've been waiting for him to Mahomes actually have a good game and show what he can do, and he looked like he did this past week, so we'll see.
Yeah, and they're creeping up there in the win category. So it's even though it's been ugly, they're still finding ways to get the wins and be relevant. So maybe it is coming around. I guess we'll find out. It's just one game, and it's a divisional game, which makes it kind of a wild card. But I think they're sitting at 6-3 now, so that it definitely helps our case.
Yeah. 6-3. I thought it was 6-4 for some reason, but you might be
Oh,
right.
maybe 6-4. Let me just. Oh yeah, 6-4. Yeah, you got that. Well, cool. All right, well, let's move it on. Let's do our recap of the past week. There was a fair amount on the news front, a lot of injury related stuff. So, and you actually pointed this one out right off the bat to me, which was Robert Woods going down with a torn ACL. Man, just talk about perfect timing for those guys to bring in OBJ. That should help keep that offense intact, scheme wise, everything they're doing, play calling wise, all that kind of fun stuff. And um, you know, especially as the season goes on. He'll pick up the playbook pretty quickly, I'm sure, and fit that role. So that's good for them. Uh, Obviously, not good for Robert Woods. I like him. He's always kind of like an under the radar, but highly productive name, and he's just done really well in that Sean McVay offense. Of course,
Yeah. It seems like there's other problems with the Rams now, though, with Stafford looking like 2 weeks in a row having pretty poor games.
yeah, so he had the one primetime game, which, hey, that's like the story of his life. And then last week, yeah, I mean, this past week losing to the 49ers, that was, a divisional game. So you kind of say, okay, maybe, but, yeah, he definitely contributed to those losses, which is not good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one I got another wide receiver. And actually, I've got a lot of wide receiver news tonight. Amari Cooper looks like he's going to be out this weekend. He's on the COVID list. The next one is wide receiver Tim Patrick for the Denver Broncos. He's another one of these under the radar kind of guys. And he's strung together a couple solid seasons now. And they just signed him to a 3-year, $34.5 million extension. So good for that guy. Moving over to running backs. Chris Carson, he's been out for a while with injury. They were hoping eventually they'd be able to get him back in the mix. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. He is undergoing season-ending neck surgery, and so that's tough for the Seahawks. I know Pete Carroll likes running the ball quite a bit, but I think last year they finally had like the official changing of the guard with basically just letting Russell Wilson air it out as much as they want. And now that he's back and he's healthy, I know last week against Green Bay didn't really go all that well, but you know, as he gets more comfortable with that finger and everything like that, I'm sure they'll get back into that sort of like high-powered aerial attack and what have you. So, um, other running back news: Alvin Kamara. He is ruled out for this weekend. He's got a knee issue, and that's starting to turn into like sort of a lingering thing that he's got going on too. Um, and so, hey, good timing. They traded for Mark Ingram a couple weeks ago. That helps the cause.
Yeah, I
Uh,
had seen that Kamara was out. I had seen that he was questionable or doubtful. I forget what designation I'd seen with him, but I hadn't seen he was out. And with Cooper, Amari Cooper's out this week and Thursday's game because he's
oh
unvaccinated.
yeah, short week. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Okay, so yeah, because like what is it, a 10-day wait or something, or however
Yeah,
the
it's
rules are?
10-day wait for unvaccinated players that test positive.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but man, that'll roll into Thanksgiving football game. Ah, man, that is what it is. On the defensive side of the ball, Khalil Mack, he is undergoing season-ending foot surgery, which is tough. That defense has been playing great this year, keeping them in games, even though they're still losing a lot. And he's their best guy, so that's going to hurt them. And it's just going to put more importance on Justin Fields, who looked like he had a pretty good game last week against Pittsburgh despite the loss. But he is a rookie, and it's going to be up and down. So, I think Chicago, their season is pretty much kaput at this point, but that's just my
Well,
opinion.
it was kaput going into the season pretty much, so
Yeah,
it's not a surprise.
yeah. So we'll see. Is it going to be see you later, Nagy and company, or, they're going to get another excuse of, well, we had a rookie quarterback and all this and yeah, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But Um, okay, back over to the offense. We got Kyler Murray. He's going to be a game time decision. He's got this ongoing ankle injury. A couple weeks ago they won that game without him, but they lost this past week. And here's the thing, man. They're still sitting at 8-2. So my opinion is don't rush it back. I mean, I think he had like 110 QB rating before he went out. Like he's having a phenomenal year. Don't rush him back and mess with the long game, which is him being healthy and carrying that team into the playoffs. You just hate to see him hobbled and things just kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
And so then next up, I got a couple. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
He got banged up towards the end of the year, and then they were trying to play him, and that's what caused him to miss the playoffs. So hopefully, as he goes, kind of that whole team goes.
Yeah, definitely. Take it easy. 8-2. They got some slack to take the slow game with him and, you know, think playoffs. Um, And yet, my last couple pieces here, I got some tight end news. Dallas Goedert with the Philadelphia Eagles signed a 4-year, $57 million extension. I think that was pretty widely expected going back to last season with like some of the Zach Ertz talk about, when they were going to trade him. And, Goddard was kind of like the next guy and solidly productive for him. And, so I mean, it was coming, but I was kind of surprised they didn't get it done before they traded Ertz, to be honest, because it just seems like that's where the team would have had a little bit more leverage and maybe a little bit of a backup plan if they didn't get the deal they wanted. But either way, it worked out, so I guess it's good for everybody. And then the last piece I got here, James, I got to do a little fire up chips action. Frickin' Tyler Conklin with the Minnesota Vikings. Dude scored 2 TDs in that win last week over the
Mhm.
Chargers. I don't think he had a ton of yardage to go with it, but he was clutch getting those TDs, man.
Yeah, it was he was. I kind of missed a lot of that game, and you missed one fact about wide receiver news this week was apparently Antonio Brown turned in a fake COVID card.
Oh, yeah, I did see something about that. So
Oh,
I heard he's being investigated. Um, so I don't know, like, what's the full story? What is he vaccinated or not? And is it that earlier in the year he wasn't vaccinated and so he was trying to get a fake card, or what's the full story?
so apparently, allegedly, he's fully vaccinated.
Allegedly,
According
or
to,
fully
according,
inoculated. There's a difference.
no, no, no. He said vaccinated.
Or I mean, fully
Uh,
immunized. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So apparently, at some point, he was his personal chef who he owes money. He talked to him about buying a fake, or his girlfriend, not him, not Antonio, but his girlfriend talked to his chef about getting a fake, buying a fake vaccine card for both of them. And then later, the chef saw a card that his girlfriend said was a fake card that they bought from someone else or whatever for like $500.
Hmm.
Something like that. And apparently the teams scrutinized the card, and they determined it was a legit card or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how you tell if it's a legit vaccine card or not legit vaccine card, because apparently, like, if you hear about it, like read about it, like pharmacists and other medical professionals are taking the cards and filling them out and selling them as if people were vaccinated. So
I mean, dude, I believe it. Like, I'll tell you, like I've seen the stations at like CVS's and different like places like that where, they'll have like a desk with just, one of the employees just dishing out cards and like, hey, you check in here, you sign in, he puts your name on the card, gives it to you, and then you go and get your shot. And then I think it was like the nurse like put the date in on the card, but it was like, you know, I don't remember ever seeing them checking IDs. And I'm sure there probably is supposed to be, but I could see how that's something that could slip through the cracks, or somebody could miss a beat there, and definitely some bad actors could get away with something.
yeah, well, like I mean, like when I got my vaccine, it was, they checked my ID and everything, and then but also like one of the things on it is the serial number, the lot number of the dose you got.
Okay.
So that's I think where what they review to verify that it's legitimate. But if it's a pharmacist or another medical professional selling it, they'll know what to put in there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, man, I want it to be tight because, but yeah. So either way, it sounds like the team confirmed he had a legit card. So is he still under investigation then, or what's?
I I guess the league's looking into it because I see the problem with Antonio Brown is he doesn't pay anybody. So he'll owe somebody money for something,
He
and he
doesn't
doesn't
pay
pay them,
anybody.
and then these people
Yeah.
get pissed at it. Like this is his personal chef who he refused to pay that got pissed at it, and was like, okay, this is what he did. It's like it's like, dude, if you would have paid him, no, he wouldn't have come out about this.
That's that's true. Yeah. Oh man. Well, just don't be shady. How about that?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
all right. Well, any other news that you want to hit on, or is that pretty much it?
I think that was pretty much it.
Okay. Well, let's move it over then to our Week 11 power rankings. And so I'm just pulling up my sheet here, James. Why don't you give me your 1 through 5, man?
All right. Let me see. I get the right one open. Okay. So at number one, I have the Bills. They went up 4 spots. This is kind of like these 4 spots, like 1 through 7, is kind of fluctuating. It's always going to be this
Yeah.
pretty much the same teams for me. It's just who wins, who loses that week, and what I feel about their win or loss. Like the Bills, they look dominant last week, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the
I
Jets,
mean,
I think.
it was against the Jets. I mean, but 45-17, it's a solid win. So the Bills bumped up to number one, 4 spots. Cowboys bumped up 4 spots to number two. It is more the 4 teams in front of these teams lost, so I didn't think they deserved to be that high just for a week, especially seeing as some of the teams they lost to were like like Tampa Bay, who dropped 3 spots, lost to Washington.
Yeah.
It's like that's a pretty bad loss. Arizona lost to Carolina. That's a pretty bad loss. So they dropped 3 spots to number four. So Green Bay, who won, Dallas, who won, and Buffalo, who won, jumped up ahead of those teams.
Okay, I got it. Well, so I still got Arizona at 1. And, basically, I know it was a bad loss to Carolina, but I'm just going to say it was without Kyler Murray. They're still sitting at freaking 8-2, which is the top record in the league, tied with the Titans, I believe. Um, and I just, I feel like once he's back, they could hang with anybody. And so I thought, for this week, I'm giving him sort of a free pass because of the injury situation. Of course, Kyler's game time this weekend, and so, you know, I mean, they either got to win without him, or they got to get him back, or eventually, if they're just losing, I got to drop him down. But for this one week, I gave him that pass. At 2, I put Tennessee. I bumped them up 2 spots. And, I mean, obviously they had the shaky start at the year. They lost to the Jets. Now Derrick Henry's out. But I wanted to throw them some love, man, because like I was just saying about Arizona with their record, they're tied with the best record at 8-2, which is pretty unbelievable from how this team started the season. And I don't know, dude, like I just watched them play and they've just been rock solid. And so, maybe they've just peaked and it's only going to get worse from here. I don't know, but I'm giving them a little bit of love. At 3, I got Green Bay. I bumped them up 4 spots. And this was just kind of like a product of, looking at the record. Green Bay is also in that 8-2, best record tie scenario, and so I wanted to give them respect for that. But I also look at some of these other teams and I say, man, like you mentioned, the issues with Stafford and the Rams, and some of that stuff going on, and I kind of thought, you can argue that the Packers are just as good as any of those guys basically just for the fact that they fricking got Aaron Rodgers. And they're winning games at 8-2. I know they came out of the gate and got beat down by the Saints, but it's been pretty fucking steady since then. So I put them at 3. At 4, I got the Rams, which is a 2-spot drop. And that's all on account of kind of what you're saying. A couple of bad weeks in a row now. Stafford looking shaky. But I do believe that they're still stacked with talent on both sides of the ball. And so they got to be solidly in that top 5 still. And then at 5, I got Buffalo, which I didn't move them. I did like the win over the Jets. I just kind of thought, man, it's the Jets. It's just so hard for me to get like an accurate depiction of really is it a quality win or because I don't know, I just expect anybody to roll the Jets even though they beat the Titans and stuff like that. But either way, they're still a top 5 team. And kind of like you're saying, it's sort of interchangeable at this point, depending on who's winning and who's losing. These guys can fluctuate in that top 5 or 7 pretty regularly right now.
Yeah. One other thing about the Packers is their defense. Currently this year, their defense is playing as a top 5 defense in the league. And the last time Green Bay had a top 5 defense in the league was, what was it? It was their Super Bowl year. Was that 2010?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
And that was the last time they played. They were a top 5 defense, and currently they're a top 5 defense. So we'll see how it plays out. But if that defense continues to play like they did, the Packers can have a solid chance at winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good sign for them. All right, so back to you, man. Who do you got 6 through 10?
All right, number 6, I have the Chargers. I dropped them 3 spots. They lost to the Minnesota fucking Vikings, who are dysfunctional as hell, and Herbert's kind of looked a little shaky. And With the Chargers, I have concerns about their run defense. It was like they've allowed like 160 yards per game since week 5
Okay.
rushing, which is the most in the league. And that if you're going to have allowed that much rushing, you have to be more explosive and take advantage of the offense the time you have on offense, because if teams can just rush the ball, rush the ball on you, it's going to eat up the clock.
Yeah, that's true.
At number 7, I have the Rams. I dropped them 3 spots as well. I have concerns about how Stafford's played the last few weeks. The defense kind of looks a little shaky. Plus, they lost to San Francisco, and yeah, I know they never beat San Francisco. I think this was like 5 or 6 losses in a row against San Francisco. But I mean, come on, you have to. Stafford's just looking like shit. Yeah, like one of his interceptions this past week wasn't his fault, but still, he's not. They're not. That offense isn't as explosive, and it looked like at times they were already trying to force the ball to OBJ, which
Yeah.
is not what you want to do. You don't want to force it to a receiver, and that's concerning. At
No.
number 8, have Titans. They moved up 1 spot. Um, I like what you said about the Titans. I'm still not 100% sold on them, especially with Julio being on the IR with his injury, and like they just seem to get all these injuries. Yeah, they're still winning. The defense looks good at times, looks shaky at other times. They lost to the Jets, for God's sakes. Like
I know. I know. It's tough. It's tough, dude.
uh, at number 9, I have the Colts. I like what I'm seeing out of the Colts recently. They're playing better. I can't put them above the Titans because they lost both games to the Titans already this year, or 2 games to the Titans already this year. So they're firmly locked below the Titans. Wherever the Titans go, the Colts will kind of probably stay right behind them in my rankings. And then at number 10, I have Baltimore. Baltimore lost this past week. They dropped 2 spots. Ex with They lost to Miami, and I probably didn't could have killed them more than I did with the loss of Miami, but it's kind of like a lot of teams behind them lost, right behind them lost as well.
Yeah.
So I bump teams as far up as like that had won and the loss, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
leveled in at number 10 for Baltimore.
Yeah. They
They're
sort of all moved in a chunk,
Yeah,
I was the same
exactly.
way. It was like, geez, man, like it was so hard to navigate the board this week because it was like, what the hell? Like everybody in this one range lost. And I'll
Uh-huh.
tell you, I mean, we'll get to the picks in a little bit, but we got our asses kicked with the picks, man. But that's all right. It happens.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So at 6, I got Dallas. I bumped them up 1 spot, and Dallas is rocking a 7-2 record, man. And so like some of what I did this week was on account of looking at the overall records now and making somewhat of an adjustment on that, because it's like, okay, we now have enough season to say, some weeks could have been a fluke or this or that, or maybe a weak spot in the schedule or whatever. But it's kind of like, okay, overall, if you're winning a lot of games now, you're pretty solid because there's been enough season that you're establishing the right track record. And so, I'm comfortable with Dallas at 6, man. I really am. At 7, I got Tampa Bay. I dropped them down 4 spots. And man, it just, I get it, dude. They almost lost to Washington in the playoffs last year, but this is a totally different Washington team. And I think Tampa Bay is starting to have problems with injuries that are becoming a factor. I've heard a lot of people talking about how Gronk being out has actually changed that offense quite a bit. And so, whatever it is, it's a concern, them now sitting at 6-3. Um, I don't know, dude. I really don't know. And then at 8, I got the New
With
England.
Tampa Bay, I'm not as concerned about them because last year, if you remember, like the first about half of the season, they were 7-5, and their defense through 12 weeks, their defense looked pretty much like shit. And
Yeah.
then after what was it, their bye was week 13. So in week 14 they came out and their defense was legit. So I mean maybe that defense can get it down, but the problem with them, it's not as I don't see as much their offense as their defense is not playing as well as it did last year.
Yeah, and I guess I think that's a good point. The defense is definitely an issue. And I was just referencing an article. Well, I didn't properly reference it, but that I read about a guy saying with Gronk out, things have been different. But, um, it's just concerning because they returned all the starters. And, you would have expected them to gel quicker going into this year. But, you know, and they have time. Defenses typically get stronger as the year goes on, and that's why a lot of times they say defense wins championships. But you know, I mean, they're not they're not looking like they're getting there right now, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so then at 8, I got the New England Patriots. I gave them a freaking monster bump, 8 spots up on my board, um, and this was one of the weird things that we were talking about, James, with like this whole chunk of teams losing. And Green Bay, I mean, not Green Bay, New England, I was looking at it and I'm like, man, going into last night's game, they were 6-4, which is actually a lot, not a lot better, but a game up on like this whole next wave of teams I had on my board. And so I made the move and I actually feel great about it after they got that win last night because it's just kind of like, yeah, man, it's kind of like what I've been saying the last few weeks. The Patriots are on the rise, man. They're getting better every week. Mac Jones is developing every week. I mean, fucking Kyle Van Noy last night fucking looked like vintage freaking Patriots Kyle Van Noy tearing shit up. And so I like the Pats, man. And then at 9, I got Kansas City. This was a similar thing, man. They got a 4-spot bump, and them, it's like almost purely the benefit of everybody else losing. Like you're saying, hey, it was a sharp game for Mahomes, and they needed that. And I heard a lot of good stuff about Kelsey in that game, even though I didn't get to see it. And so maybe they've sort of turned the corner and they're getting back to where they need to be. But a lot of the bump on my board was a result of the whole next wave of guys losing, and now Kansas City sitting at 6-4, which is a win up on a lot of these next teams. And then Baltimore at 10, they're at 6-3, and so they're kind of like hovering in that range. I wanted to smoke Baltimore for that loss to Miami, and we talked about it last week that this year they've had a lot of games where they've won, but they've been down going into the second half. And it was only a matter of time before one of them bit them in the ass. And it was the freaking Dolphins, man. I can't believe it. I never would have seen that one coming.
Yeah. No, completely know what you mean on that. I mean, Dolphins are starting to play better too. So I mean, there's less distraction with or are they going to trade for Watson, this and that, and blah blah blah, bullshit. So there's less distraction, which then is probably helping the team out a little bit.
That's true. All right, back to you at 11, man.
All right, at 11, I have the Bengals. They didn't play last week. Nothing too crazy happened around them. So they kind of stayed at 11. Number 12, I have the Patriots. Patriots, they had a solid win against the Browns. I viewed that win more as a Browns issue than really the Patriots. Like the Browns looked like shit.
They had a lot of injuries too,
Yeah. And I kind of expected that. We talked about it. Like, I just can see the Patriots just really being up for this game, and with the Browns injuries, it being Patriots having a dominant performance. But then last night's game, was it last night? They played last night, right? Yeah.
Yeah, against Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Atlanta, who had been on the rise, and then they kind of beat the shit out of Atlanta last night. So that maybe makes me feel like I didn't give them enough of a bump, but
you can do it next week.
Yeah. At 13, I had the 49ers. They bumped up 2 spots after beating the Rams this past week. I'm still not sold on the 49ers. It feels high for them, but the teams ahead of them lost, so there's not, I couldn't much justify those teams staying ahead of the 49ers because the 49ers had a good, solid win against the Rams.
Okay.
At 14, I have the Saints. They dropped down 2 spots. I forget who they lost to last week. They lost to the Titans in a close game, but teams ahead of them, or a couple teams below them, one to justify a bump up for them, so the Saints kind of fall just back one spot or two spots because I mean they did lose to the Titans, who I have in my top 10.
Okay.
Browns, I dropped them down only one spot. I kind of have been down on the Browns. Like I started out high on the Browns, and then with the injuries and stuff, and they just kind of look like they're kind of fading. So I have them at 15. They dropped one spot. I had New England previously uh, ranked ahead of them in my power rankings, so wasn't much of a surprise to me that they lost to New England. So they only dropped down one spot.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. So for me, I got the Browns at 11, and I dropped them down 2. I am getting concerned with the injuries. They do get Nick Chubb back this week, which I think is going to be a big boost for them. But yeah, I mean, man, they're just they definitely hit a skid these last couple weeks, and it's been tough for them. At 12, I got Cincinnati. You know, they didn't play last week, if I'm not mistaken, and so yeah, keeping them where they were at made sense. 13, I got the Colts. I moved them up a spot. Um, you know, I like the Colts, man. I mean, we talked about it a lot that they were going to be sort of like a stretch runner this year, that it was going to be after that first 5 weeks, they'd start picking up steam. And they've done it, and they're talking about giving the ball more to Jonathan Taylor. I think that's a great thing to do. I'm interested to see where they go, man. At 14, I got the Chargers. I dropped them down 3 spots. Like you're saying, man, I do have some concerns with that defense. Um, I mean, their offense, they did have a little bit of patchiness here and there. And I know a couple weeks ago, teams were like saying, oh, hey, maybe we figured out Herbert. But, I mean, the following week, he lit him up for 300 something yards. And so all the potential's there on offense. I think it's the defense needs to catch up. And then I'd feel more comfortable bumping this team. And one of the things when I looked at my board and I dropped them 3 spots, it might have seemed kind of harsh because it was, somewhat of a close game, a one-score game. But the Chargers are now sitting at 5-4, and so I thought, man, I better bump them down into this range until I really feel like, they're starting to get some of those quality wins again, like they got at the beginning of the year. And then at 15, I got the Saints. I kind of killed them on the board. I dropped them down 5 spots. And some of this is because, I mean, obviously Jameis is out for the year. Now Kamara's dealing with some of these issues. Mike Thomas isn't coming back like they were hoping for. I'm just kind of looking at it like, man, they're starting to deal with a lot of shit in New Orleans. And so I'm putting them down if they can get it together, because Simeon's actually, like I saw the report about, oh, despite the losses, he's graded out well, and that's probably a fair assessment. But it's until I see that and like really see the wins come with that, I'm a little bit nervous about the Saints now. And back to you at 16.
At 16, I have the Chiefs. I only gave them a one spot jump for winning. I need to see a little bit more. Maybe Mahomes is back. Maybe it was a fluke that they had such a dominant performance against the Raiders. Maybe the issue was the Raiders. I'm not certain, but it was a solid win, so they got a spot bump. Washington, they got a 2 spot bump. This is one of the quirks. I really should have dropped Washington down after the news that because they lost Chase Young
Oh
for
yeah.
season, and stuff like that. But they did have a good win over, it was top 2, top 3 team I had last week. So they get the bump, but they're probably going to and the teams immediately ahead of them lost. So it's kind of like, well, what do I do with this? Like, I know they probably should drop down. The teams immediately behind them either did not play or tied the fucking Lions. So it's like, where do I put the where do I put Washington? And it just kind of fell here, but they'll probably go and probably readjust next week for it. At
Gotcha.
18, the Raiders, they dropped down 2 spots. They looked like shit against the Chiefs, and I'm trying to figure out if it was like I said with the Chiefs, if it was the Chiefs being back or if it was the Raiders just being a shitty team. At 19, I have Seattle, and Seattle is Russ's first game back, so I didn't kill them that much for losing to to Green Bay, which is top. I think I had them at 7 last week, and so I expected Seattle to beat or lose to Green Bay. I didn't expect them to get shut out by Green Bay, but it was Russ's first game back, so I'm not going to kill them that much
Okay.
for that loss. And then at 20, I have the Giants. They didn't play last week. This is probably a little bit high for them, but it's again they didn't play. The teams immediately behind them lost, so I can't really move them much.
Yeah, and I spanked him on my board despite being on bye, but I'll talk to you about that when I get there. At 16 for me, I got the Steelers. I dropped them down one spot. Honestly, I should have dropped them down probably 5 because of the fucking tie to the Lions, but I gave them a little bit of respect for the record now. At 5-3-1, they're like a game up on pretty much all the next teams I got on my board, so it just kind of made sense. At 17, I got the 49ers. I moved them up 3 spots. I thought it was a great upset win. Um, I'm with you, man. I don't know how much I can trust this team, and that's why they're sitting at 17 on my board. Um, Hopefully they keep it rolling, but I mean they're only at 4-5, so it's kind of screwy. And then at 18, I got the Vikings. I moved them up 4 spots, and so despite the 4-5 record, I've been saying this all year. The Vikings have been playing hard. They've been playing good games, good teams. They've been playing competitively. They just, it seems like, keep coming up short. And so I believe that it's a solid football team. They just have a closing issue. Last week, they got a good win over a quality opponent. And so I'm just giving them a nice solid boost as a result. And then at 19, I got the Raiders. I moved them down 2 spots. I think you covered it pretty well. They got their shit pushed in by the Chiefs. That wasn't good. And then at 20, I got the Seahawks. I dropped them down 2 spots just because of the shutout. I thought, man, I get it. Green Bay's solid. It's Russ's first game back. But, I just thought anytime you get shut out like that, it's not good. So I dropped them 2 instead of 1. But it's all good, man. Back to you at 21.
All right, 21. I have the Steelers. They stayed at 21 from last week. Yeah, they tied the Lions. They were playing their backup quarterback, we talked after it was on Saturday when when Ben was out. We found out Ben was out. Like I was like I might change. I was
Yeah.
considering changing to the Lions just because like I don't have any faith in Mason Rudolph, but ultimately in my picks I stayed with Pittsburgh. I should have picked the tie, but
Uh,
so I didn't really kill them because it was their backup quarterback, and they were playing the Lions. So if their backup quarterback can tie the Lions, then we'll get to that later. 22, I have the Panthers as a nice win over Arizona. Yeah, it was the backup quarterback for Arizona, so it wasn't that much of a bump. I gave them 2-spot bump. And it was their backup and Hopkins was out, so I don't know what to see. I think Cam Newton is shot, so going forward, I think they possibly should stay with was it PJ Walker at quarterback, not Cam Newton, and Cam Newton coming as that change of place person because we saw last year Cam Newton is shot as a starting quarterback. 23, I have the Vikings. I dropped them or gave them 2-spot bump just because of their win. You pretty much covered it. The team finally closed the game. I had read something earlier, like Kirk Cousins has the highest interception to or TD to interception ratio at he has 18 touchdowns and 2 interceptions this year.
he doesn't turn the ball over, man. He's
Yeah,
smart, but he's also not clutch either. And I think that's part of the
exactly.
reason they're having a problem close is that, they need the defense to step up. They can't expect Cousins to close it. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. At 24, I have the Broncos. They dropped down 2 spots. Look, they lost to fucking Philadelphia, and I probably should have killed them a little bit more for that, but I didn't because, again, it's what's going on around them. Atlanta at 25, again, a 2-spot drop. I mean, I expected better things. I expected a closer game against Dallas this past week. Was it Dallas? Yeah, Dallas this past week. I expected a little bit of a closer game. I expected them to put up some sort of a fight, and I mean, what was it, 43-3, 47-3, something like that. It's like they didn't even show up for the game. So they dropped down 2 spots.
Okay. Um, well, with that Denver Philly thing, that points out an interesting twist on my board. That's actually one that I probably should have flipped. I got Denver at 21, and I got Philly at 23. And so, obviously Philly just beat Denver. Denver is still up a game on the schedule, and they're pretty close. They're only 2 spots apart on the board. So I don't know. I'm going to keep it where it is, obviously, for now. Maybe next week I'll switch it up. I got Carolina at 22. I bumped them up 2 spots. Um, yeah, like you said, let's just not go crazy because they were playing up against a backup quarterback. And, dude, I saw one guy in NFL.com talking about Cam getting 5 touchdowns this week. I don't see it. It was great. He came out. They got him in the game at the right times. He had that one run. He had a pass. Oh, hey, cool, cool, cool. But he's not a long-term answer for this team. And I don't think that Cam makes them a playoff contender. If anything, like we talked about, it's the return of Christian McCaffrey that makes him a playoff contender. But, Cam, I don't know, dude. I just don't see it. At 24, I got Washington. I moved them up 4 spots. I like that it was a solid win. I've just seen way too much ugly football out of this team. And like you mentioned, Chase Young's out. And it sounds like Ryan Fitzpatrick won't be coming back this year either. And so I gave him a 4 spot bump, and that's great. I was tempted to go higher, but like all these reasons is what I'm saying. I kind of had to like rein it in and say 4 is good enough for now. If they can keep finding ways to win with Heineke and whatever, then I'll be glad to boost them. And so at 25, I got the Dolphins. I gave them a 4 spot jump. Um, I didn't like doing it. I did not like doing it, I'll tell you that. But they surprised the heck out of me beating Baltimore. And, like you said, their defense is playing a lot better. I think it helps that the trade talk is gone. Um, let's just see where they go from here. 4 spots. I mean, they're sitting at 25. I didn't go crazy, but they definitely have potential. So back to you at 26, man.
All right, 26. I have the Bears. They didn't play. They stay there. 27. I have the Eagles, and it's the same situation. It's 3 spots, not 2 spots. From your board to my board. I left the Eagles at 27. Yeah, they beat Denver. I need to see more consistency out of the Eagles to really give them anything above 27 on my board.
Yeah.
At 28, I have the Dolphins. I only gave them a 1 spot bump for the win. I need to see more of them. This team has played like shit all year, and yeah, they had a great win against Baltimore last Thursday, but I need to see more. I just need to see more of them.
I got you.
29 Jaguars. They dropped down 1 spot. They lost to Indianapolis, which isn't a surprise. It was a hard fought game, but there's not much you can do bumping them up much further because the teams, in this case, the team behind them and teams immediately in front of them won. So I couldn't really move them much.
Okay.
And then at 30, I have the Jets. The interesting thing about the Jets is did you hear like the Rex Ryan coach or Rex Ryan quote and the beef between Rex Ryan and Saleh
No.
this week? So apparently people were comparing Saleh to Rex Ryan and same background, this and that. And Rex Ryan's basically like, we don't have the fucking same background. He had one top 5 defense in San Francisco. One. How can you say it's like whoa, holy shit? And then and Salah responded. I didn't hear what Salah responded, but it was just like a little bit of back and forth between the two. It's like, dude, Salah, just focus on the fucking game. Don't respond to these critics in the
Yeah.
media saying shit about you.
Yeah, I mean Rex Ryan, he just wants to stay relevant, so he's grabbing onto anything he can. But he was one fucking hell of a defensive coordinator, I will say
Yeah.
that. Um, all right, so that gets you rounded out at 30. For me at 26, I got the Giants. James, I did it. Dick move. I dropped him 5 spots on a bye week, and I'll tell you why. Okay, it's pretty simple. They are sitting at fucking 3 and 6, dude. And so I think I hung on to them a little bit too long where, I kept telling you every week, hey, they lost, man, but they played hard, and despite the injuries, they kept it close and this and that. Well, fuck. The record this week was all about doing a record adjustment, and their record is piss poor, so I had to drop them despite the bye. At 27, I got the Falcons. I dropped them down 5 spots. And, shame on me, man. Just last week I was talking about, oh, hey, they're like kind of like the top dog of the shitty teams, and they're, working their way up. And then they just go out and get spanked. And so it's just, I don't know, dude. Atlanta, I mean, it's frustrating. That's what I get for talking good about somebody. I'm not just talking about the Dallas game. They got spanked again last night. And so, you know, I they're probably even going to go another spot or two down after this, but we'll get there. 28, I got Jacksonville, dropped them down 2 spots. I do like that it was a close game, nice divisional game. Jacksonville sitting at 2 and 7, so I mean this is their range. At 29, I got the Bears. They are 3 and 6, and so you could make the argument to keep them above Jacksonville. I put them lower. I get it. They kept it close with Pittsburgh, or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. But
Mm.
Justin Fields showed a spark against Pittsburgh, is what I mean to say. But I just don't. I don't believe it, man. I don't believe it. Khalil Mack's out. I just think this team has played like garbage all year, and their defense has been saving their asses. But at 3 wins, I don't know, dude. I'm not taking Chicago. And then at 30, I got the Jets. I mean, shit, they're 2 and 7. And their 2 wins were nice quality wins, man. Tennessee and Cincinnati, that's nice. Two solid upset wins. So, there is a little bit of like, boom potential for them, but it's going to be bust like 80+% of the time. So, yeah, back to you for the dumpster fire.
And and on the Jets, for a minute, did you see that they announced that Joe Flacco is going to be their fucking starting quarterback this week?
Yes, I did. Yes.
I mean, first of all, didn't Saleh kick Joe Flacco the fuck out of town because he didn't fit in the offense, and then they traded for him back, and now he's starting because he has more experience against the blitz. What the fuck does that mean? He can't get away from the blitz. Lamar Jackson couldn't get away from the blitz that Miami does. How do you think that statuesque Joe Flacco is going to get away?
Just by throwing the ball fast.
Oh, okay.
No, dude, I don't know. I mean, hey, I liked Flacco in the heyday, but he's well past the heyday.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just wanted a veteran, I guess, and who knows. But yeah, so dumpster fire, James, dumpster fire.
All right. There's a little bit of a change in my dumpster fire teams. Houston jumped up to 31, even though they didn't play this past week. And the reason for that is because of the fucking Lions. Like, I was holding on hope, and they fucking tied the backup quarterback, and not even only the backup quarterback. Isn't Schuster out too for them? So like they don't even have their top receiver, and they
Oh yeah.
fucking couldn't win a game against a hobbled team that. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm done with them. I say this, I'm just done with them. I will never believe in this team until they show me it.
James,
And I say that, and it's gonna fucking come back to bite me because then next week I'm gonna be talking about or 2 weeks from now I'm gonna be talking how I'm picking them to beat who do they play after Thanksgiving. Let me take a look. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be talking about how they're going to beat Minnesota.
Okay.
So I say that I'm done with them, but I'm done with them for now.
Yeah, for now. For now, I got you. Well, hey, I mean, our dumpster fires are aligned. I got Houston at 31 and Detroit at 32. I think Houston still has some potential if Tyrod Taylor can get back to his early season form, be smart with the football. They do still have running backs, Philip Lindsay, David Johnson, and the defense has shown some potential. It's just a matter of being smart, having a good game manager, and I could see them getting another couple wins before the season's over, but they're still going to be a bottom feeder team. And then with Detroit at 32, I mean, dude, they do everything wrong, man, because in that game at the end, they had so many opportunities to find a way to win, and they didn't. And that field goal kick, oh my God, that was like one of the worst kicks I've ever seen in my life. But I think some of that's by design. You didn't retain Prater because there was no reason to have a good kicker when you knew this year was going to be a fucking dumpster fire. And so that was like a good and bad. It's like, well, hey, if they kept Prater, he probably makes that kick and they get their first win. But on the other hand, it's like, but do they really need any fucking win at this point when their goal is to get the number one pick and, hopefully hit a home run for their rebuild? So they're at 32, man. They just fucking, they suck, suck, suck. And I've accepted that a long time ago. So, yeah, that's Detroit.
Yeah, I wanted to take a look because at like some point I I turned the game off and like I was like, oh, there's no way they're
Oh,
gonna.
the field goal, dude, it was so bad. It was so bad. And I get
Yeah,
it, it
so
was kind of shitty conditions, but it was so bad.
I turned it off when like it was it might have been I don't know like I either that or I fell asleep because I was so bored of the game like
Yeah.
seriously one of the two like I fell asleep and then I woke up and it was like oh the Lions fucking tied what the hell they at least they didn't lose woohoo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, all right. Well, hey, while you're looking around, I'll switch it over to our week 11 game picks. And man, so James, last week we both got our shit pushed in, and we took a 2% drop on our season to date win percentage each. It was nasty, dude. It was nasty. I don't know why we're so bad. All I'm going to say is that it's a good thing we're not hitting up like freaking DraftKings or Bovada and all that shit like we were doing last year because we'd be getting annihilated, man. You're sitting at 54%. I'm sitting at 60. We are well below where we were last year. And so hopefully this week we can turn it around. I'd like to say a lot of season to go, but we're on the back half now, so we got to get this shit figured out, man.
Hmm.
In the first game was the Thursday night game um, last night. It was New England at Atlanta, and we both had the Patriots. So at least we're back on track with getting our Thursday nights right.
True.
Um, any thoughts on that game? Just that the Patriots are looking like they're a fucking legit team again.
They look like they're a legit team again. I heard some interesting going into the game. I heard some interesting commentary on Sports Talk Radio this week on how if you were betting on who was going to win the Super Bowl, the Patriots have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl this year than the Bucks do.
Wow, that's kind of wild, man.
Which I thought was weird, and it's like, but no, the Patriots, like you figured this was going to happen. We kind of talked about it coming in to the year with the Patriots. They went out for the first time. They spent all sorts of buckets of money on free agents. They got their quarterback, and I told you, like that's why I wanted San Francisco to draft the
Yeah.
Mac Jones because I mean he's legit and he's just a Bella bot fit into the system and look what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like where he ended up with in New England because he's definitely the the successor that they needed for Brady. Like he fits that Josh McDaniels offense perfectly.
Yeah, and Josh McDaniels played it perfectly. Kind of slowly get him into the swing of things, short passes, and then slowly
Yeah,
extend the
and
defense.
run the ball a lot and yeah, take the
Yeah.
pressure off of them. Yeah. Okay, well, cool. So we both had New England. That's nice. We start with a win. The next one I got is New Orleans at Philly on Sunday. Who do you like there, James?
Uh, I just think Philly's a shitty ass team and has no shot this week. So I'm gonna go with the Saints, even though it's still playing backup quarterback for the Saints.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm going with the Saints as well. Um, you know, I mean, I got the Saints solidly higher on my board than Philly. I do think Jalen Hurts has played admirably for that team. I did see Bucky Brooks had some kind of article about, is he the long-term answer for them or not, kind of thing. Um, I think, we got to keep in mind the dude is still super young, and if you want him to be a full-time starter in this league, you got to give him time. It's not like he was a fucking top three pick in the draft. He was a second round pick, and I think he's done pretty goddamn good for where they got him in the draft, man, to be honest. So, but I'm still going with the Saints. Next up, we got Miami at the New York Jets.
So with Miami's defense playing what I think is playing better, and the fact that the Jets are starting Joe Flacco, I'm gonna go with Miami. I don't think the Jets have a chance in hell of winning this game.
Yeah, for me, this is it's like a what have you done for me lately kind of thing. And lately, Miami's looking good, and the Jets look like they've got some issues that they've got to get over. And so I'm going with Miami, even though this game is in New York, and these teams are like fucking almost neck and neck on my board at the bottom. But I feel a lot better about Miami in this one. Next up, we got Washington at Carolina. Who do you like there, man?
So even though Washington beat uh, Tampa Bay this week, and I think Cam Newton shot, like the losing Chase Young concerns me for that defense. I don't think Heineke's the answer at quarterback for Washington, so I'm gonna go with the Panthers.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so hey, I told you I was impressed that Washington got the win over Tampa Bay last week, and I don't believe Cam is the answer. So, which is weird because, like, I'm just saying, despite all that, I'm still going Carolina in this game. They do have 5 wins on the year. They got McCaffrey back. I think Cam is good enough to let them basically work their magic on defense and with McCaffrey to get the win despite him, is my opinion. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Buffalo Bills. Who do you like there, man?
So I'm on the Bills all the way on this game. Buffalo has outscored their opponents by 145 points so far this season.
Wow.
They're second in points per game at 31.1, and they've allowed the fewest points per game at 15.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty solid, man. And I'm with you. I'm going with Buffalo as well. I just, they're one of my top teams, and as much as I like Indy getting better and better, it's on the road. I think if anything, this is a great test for Carson Wentz and that Indianapolis Colts team because they're playing on the road against a fucking legit opponent. If they want to say, okay, we got over all those fucking bumps in the road early on, now we're ready to play real teams. Well, this is a real team. Let's see how you do. And not just you ready to play a real team, but you've had time to get on the same page, to figure out the playbook, to work with these guys. Jonathan Taylor's rolling. I still think Buffalo has it though. Okay, next up we got the Detroit Lions at the Cleveland Browns. Damn, I fucking wish I could go to that game, but go ahead.
All right, so this is the matchup of Garrett, who leads the NFL in sacks, and the Lions, who over the last 2 weeks have let past two games have allowed the most sacks in the NFL. And like I said before, probably until the Minnesota game, I'm going to pick against the Lions, so I'm with the Browns.
Gotcha. I am with Cleveland as well. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Nick Chubb's back. This game's in Cleveland. Detroit's got freaking Tim Boyle starting this week. Um, and not that that's like a horrible thing, but he still has nobody to throw to. So I'm going Cleveland here. Next up, we got the 49ers at the Jaguars.
So Jaguars are a pretty shitty team this year, and the 49ers are borderline. Interesting thing to look out for in this game with Samuel, who has 979 yards on the season so far, and if he gets 21 yards, he'll become the second individual for the 49ers to have over 1,000 yards receiving in the first 10 games of the season. Jerry Rice did it 4 times, and that's the other individual that did it. But we'll see if he can get those 21 yards. But the 49ers are going to have a cakewalk in this game and probably win 30-14.
Okay, even on the road. All right. Well, I like Debo. I hope he gets that. That'd be nice for him. I'm going San Francisco. Even though it's on the road, I don't know that they're going to like crush them, but they should win this game. I just don't put it past anybody at this point with the 49ers. They've been streaky. And then we know Jacksonville does have some talent. They've looked good some weeks. And so, I think that they could hang in there, but the 49ers are still going to get the win. Next up, we got Houston at Tennessee. It's is there some, what do you call revenge game here? Oilers revenge game or something? Because the teams moved around and all right,
Yeah.
forget it, dude, forget it.
So Houston's a pretty shitty team again. And Tennessee, they have those hiccup games. They do. They had that hiccup game against the Jets, and stuff. So I'm not saying that it's 100% lock that the Titans win, that Texans don't have a shot in this game. But if the Tyrod Taylor plays better, yeah, the Texans have a shot. I don't see the Texans winning. I'm looking forward to Peterson, who, if he gets one rushing touchdown, he'll be top 10 all time with touchdown list, tying Jim Brown.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm going Tennessee here. They are susceptible, obviously. It would be pretty wild if they lost to the Jets and they lost to Houston. Like two teams that are just like really, really struggling. But, they're playing them at the right time for Houston to get the upset with Derrick Henry out, like you mentioned, Julio issues. Um, I don't know, man, but I'm still going Tennessee. Next up, we got Green Bay at Minnesota.
Oh, did you buy additional shares of Green Bay this week? Apparently they sold them, and it was a huge
Yeah, I didn't.
clusterfuck.
I did not, but I should have worn my shirt tonight. Because yeah, I do enjoy my one share of the Green Bay Packers.
Like I said earlier in this game, the key to this game is if Green Bay can get an interception.
Yeah.
Green Bay, the Packers, it's interesting. They're 8-0 in games where they have an they intercept the pass. They're 0-2 when they don't.
Okay.
And Kirk Cousins doesn't throw an interception. Well, he does, but
Ooh. Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. It's so this game basically comes down to Cousins.
yeah, and because I'm not concerned. Yeah, the Packers did lose. What's his face? Aaron Jones. To injury, but AJ Dillon's been done pretty well the last few weeks. He's been top 20 running back fantasy wise the last 2 weeks, so I'm assuming that he's going to continue that. I'm going to go with the Packers on it with a little bit of hesitation, but I'm going to pick the Packers.
Okay. Yeah, and I did just see the other day that Minnesota's leading the league in sacks. And so, you know, if you want to get a win over Green Bay, that's the way to do it is get pressure on Rodgers and, totally changes that game plan. But I do believe Green Bay's the better team. I got some weird feeling that they're going to win and he's going to yell at some fan about how he owns them because, pretty similar to Chicago. Green Bay, they've pretty much owned the whole NFC North since Rodgers has been there. So, yeah, I'm going Green Bay there. Next up, we got the Baltimore Ravens at the Chicago Bears.
So where this game swung on me was Khalil Mack. I was all set to pick the Bears in this game.
What?
I was all set to pick the Bears in this game. Um, and then with Khalil Mack going down, it changed my pick because the key to beating Baltimore is being able to get after the quarterback. Look at what Miami did. Also, if you look at Justin Fields, Justin Fields is starting to come around. He's been top 10 fantasy QB the 2 weeks before they had their bye, and the Ravens defense gave up 314 passing yards total last week between Brissett and Tunga or however Tua. Between Tua and Brissett had over 300 passing yards against the Baltimore defense. So I was all 100% set to pick the Bears, and then I find out about Khalil Mack, and I switched to the Ravens
Okay.
with hesitation. But
Man, see, I didn't even think about it. I just went straight for Baltimore. So I have no notes. I was just going straight Baltimore, man. All right, next up we got Cincinnati at the Las Vegas Raiders.
I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope, I hope Cincinnati plays like I know they can in this game. Um, the last couple weeks, the last two games, last week Cincinnati was on bye. The last two games, Jamar Chase has been held under 50 yards receiving a game, and after being more than his first 7 games having more than 50 yards, so he's kind of been held in check. Cincinnati hasn't been playing well as of late. Their last few games, I hope the bye did them well, and I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Cincinnati.
Okay.
I
Um,
a lot of hesitation. It's going to be a close game. So, but I think I'm going to stick with Cincinnati in that game.
yeah, I went with Cincinnati here as well. And honestly, I think you could have gone either way because these are both two surprise teams. They got like a similar kind of, good thing going for them this year, but they also sort of have a similar recent weeks kind of funk going for them this year. And so it's hard to say one of them's maybe on an upward trend and the other one's not. Probably the bye week is that upward trend. It gives Cincy some favor here. And so I'm going Cincy. Next up, we got Arizona at Seattle.
This game really hinges on if Kyler's playing or not. I made my pick assuming Kyler's going to play, but so both these teams have pretty. I'm sorry. Seattle has like it's kind of opposite. Like Seattle's defense is better stopping the run versus the passing, while the Cardinals are better stopping the pass than the run. So the Cardinals it plays into the strength of the Cardinals that Seattle's not really trying to run the ball and trying to win with Russell Wilson, but um, it's kind it's a it's a flip of the coin for me. I feel like last year we talked about it. Seattle and Arizona. Arizona generally wins in Seattle, and Seattle generally wins in Arizona when they play each other. So I'm going to go with Arizona. I might change it depending on the Kyler
Sure.
news, but for now I'm going to go with Arizona.
Yeah, so I'm just going Seattle. My gut's telling me Kyler's going to be out. And so I just based it off of that. I think Russell Wilson, his second game back at home for him, if Kyler's not playing, I think they got the edge. If he does play, that does change things, even with it being on the road. But, um, either way, I'm going to stick with Seattle unless I shoot you a text or something and try to switch it. But I'll probably stick with them anyhow. Next up, we got Dallas at Kansas City.
So, interesting thing in this game that I saw was apparently Mahomes, and this is uh, according to ESPN, Mahomes has seen two high safeties 61% of the time this
Okay,
year, which is basically how you beat Mahomes is with the coverage.
gotcha.
And the Cowboys are the bottom, somewhere in the bottom, like 26th highest amount time, or
Too high.
26th highest amount of time. Uh, they barely play two high safeties. They only play two high safeties 33% of the time. There's only 5 teams worse than them
Yeah.
or lower than them at two high safeties, which is concerning to stopping Mahomes. I think Micah Parsons, um, who's a stud, and we talked about this going into the draft, and this is what we thought we would see from Micah Parsons. I think he'll sack Mahomes a few times, and I think Dallas will win the game.
Okay. Um, yeah, so this one, man, it just depends on what Kansas City are you getting, man. If you're getting last week's version, then they got a shot of winning. If you're getting the whole rest of the season's version, I think it's a no-brainer. Dallas is going to do it. Dallas is really, they had the one bad game when Dak came back from his injury. Other than that, every game Dak's been in has been like fucking electric. And I do see some people are calling for 100 plus points in this game. It can happen, man. But I do think that when people go crazy and think that stuff, usually the games kind of go the other way for some reason. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's low scoring either. But I think Dallas comes out on top. Next up, we got Pittsburgh at Los Angeles Chargers.
As we know, all season I've been talking about how shitty of a team Pittsburgh is and how good the Chargers are. Um, and I found the stat that I talked about with rushing yards per game, and it's this season or since week 5, the Chargers have allowed 167.6 rush yards per game, which is the most in the NFL.
Yeah,
Also, since week 5, they've allowed almost 31 points per game, which is the second most in the NFL.
yeah,
But it's still unclear if Roethlisberger is going to be back. If it's Mason Rudolph, Steelers have no chance, no chance
okay.
whatsoever. If it's Roethlisberger, it'll be a closer game, but I still think the Chargers will win.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers, man. Even though I think there's concern with their defense, um, they're a team on the rise. Pittsburgh's a team that's sinking. Um, and yeah, I think it's with or without Roethlisberger. I like the Chargers here. So then last up for this week, we got our Monday night game, which is the New York Giants at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who do you like there, James?
I don't I don't think it's possible for the Giants to beat the Buccaneers as bad as the defense for the Buccaneers has been playing, as bad as Brady had a little bit of hiccup last week where he kind of was letting it get away. I think there was 2 weeks in a row that Brady kind of had a little bit shaky games. I just don't like this Giants team at all.
Yeah,
Like I think the team is fairly crappy, and so I'm gonna go with the Buccaneers.
yeah. I'm going Bucks as well. If they lose, I will be convinced that they're just fucking sandbagging to make another playoff push. But yeah, I mean the Giants, they've had a ton of injuries, and they just, we talked about it earlier. The record is just not very good. 3-6. Tampa Bay's the opposite, 6-3. I think it's a good game for Tampa Bay to get right. And then so before we move it on, we got next Thursday special Thanksgiving football action. And so instead of just one Thursday night game, we've got three Thursday games, starting with the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Who do you like there, James?
So I was trying to remember this, and I'm going to look it up. When was the last time the Lions won on Thanksgiving Day?
Oh, it had to be last year, man.
No.
No, I'm just messing with you. No, they're
Last year, last year they lost 41 to 25. 2 years ago they lost to the Bears by 4. Let me see. 3 years ago they lost to the Bears by 7. 4 years ago. Oh, 5 years ago. It was 2016.
okay.
They beat the Minnesota Vikings 16-13.
Gotcha.
Oh, they had won 2 in a row. 2015 and 2000. Oh, 3 in a row. Oh, 4 in a row.
Well, now you're just lying to me.
No, no, I'm not. They had won like 4 in a row, like 14, 13, 14, 15, 16 they won.
Ninjas, man. Ninjas.
And then 17, 18, 19, 20 they lost.
Okay.
I'm done with the Lions. I have no faith in them and having a chance to win on Thanksgiving. They never win on Thanksgiving. They are this will be their 82nd Thanksgiving Day game. They are 37, 42, and 2 on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, it's almost 500.
And the Chicago Bears are 19, 15, and 2.
Okay. Well, I don't know, dude. I didn't want to overthink this one. I'm going with Detroit. Um, I just feel like this is probably the last time I can pick them for a game this year. And it's at home, it's Thanksgiving. If there's ever a time for them to get a win, this is like the last chance. And so I'm just taking a flyer on them. My gut doesn't really think they'll win, but I'm picking them for the sake of picking them. Next up, we got the Raiders at the Cowboys.
I'm on the Cowboys because it's the flip side to it. I feel like the Cowboys always win on Thanksgiving Day. I'm going to go back and look up their record because I feel like the Cowboys always win on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
But I'm going to go with the Cowboys again this year. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm going Dallas over the Raiders, man. I just think Dallas is way too high, firepower kind of offense and at home. And, the Raiders defense has been pretty solid this year with all those veteran signings, but I think Dallas is, they're just too good of a team. And at home on Thanksgiving, it just bodes well for them.
Yeah, this will be the 54th game the Cowboys have played on Thanksgiving, and they are 31, 21, and 1. Although they did get their asses kicked by Washington last year on Thanksgiving Day, but that was
Alex Smith time.
That was Alex Smith, and that was absent Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Because remember, the last year they
yeah.
only had 2 Thanksgiving games, and both games were like 41 to something.
Yeah. Well, we got a third one this year. So you're going Dallas here?
Yeah, I'm going Dallas.
Okay. So then the third one is Buffalo at New Orleans. Who do you like there, James?
I struggled with this one.
Dude, I think that's like I don't know, the second or third time that we've been on the fence with games similarly. I I don't know why, my board would say without a doubt it's Buffalo, but something in me was like, I don't know why. New Orleans on Thanksgiving. It's giving me pause, but
Yeah, because
I'm
New
sticking
Orleans,
with.
this will be New Orleans' fourth game on Thanksgiving, and they're yet to lose on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, well, then, that I'm still going Buffalo, so maybe this is the first one.
Yeah, I'm going Buffalo too. Buffalo is 4-1 on Thanksgiving Day, and the Saints are 3-0.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
So, but that's why you were thinking New Orleans Thanksgiving. It feels like it's a win, but yeah,
Yeah. Uh, it's
I
buried
agree.
back there in the subconscious, all those stats. Well, cool. So those are the game picks. Let's move it on over to our question of the week. And James, I'm just going Lions, just kind of garbage question this week. Goff looks like he's going to be out with the oblique injury. Tim Boyle gets the start. The question is, do you think that gives them a spark to get something going? Obviously you didn't pick them to win, and so here's what I'll say: Tim Boyle, undrafted back in 2018, picked up by the Packers. He is regarded as having like a fucking cannon of an arm. Um, and I went to go check his stats, thinking, hey, maybe he got some playing time here or there, bounced around the league or whatever. No, he spent 3 years with Green Bay, 18, 19, 20, and then they didn't bring him back after this, for this year, and the Lions got him. And so the stats I got from him were in college. He had a couple teams he transferred. He had 12 passing touchdowns to 27 interceptions. And so, how this guy made it into the NFL and how he is now starting a game is blowing my mind a little bit, except that apparently he's got a rocket of an arm and he was pretty well liked in Green Bay. They were saying, they kept him like third on the depth chart behind DeShone Kaiser the one year, and I don't know. So I don't think he's got anybody to throw to, so I'm not expecting anything from him. But maybe it'll be like some random Mike White lighted up magic one week and then see you later. What do you think, James?
All right. I can't believe that Tim Boyle is the fucking backup quarterback for the Lions. First of all, let's start there. How is he their backup quarterback? How is that all? The best they could have done was get Timmy fucking Boyle as their backup quarterback.
It's by design, dude. You can't get a good backup quarterback that might end up winning you a game.
And I just I didn't know that Goff was out when I made the pick. I didn't any of my picks. I'm just how is I thought I thought David Blau was the backup quarterback.
Yeah, Blau should have been the guy. I thought he was, but somehow Boyle came in and took the job away from him apparently.
Because if it was Blau Blow, however you wanna,
Blau.
if it was Blau, I would say they might have a chance. He has a little bit more experience. Um, he's played a little bit for the Lions, and I swear I thought he was their backup quarterback. Like,
I did
how
too.
did I miss that?
So you're not wrong for thinking that, but yeah, it's blowing your mind, man.
Anyways, Timmy Boyle has no shot.
Okay.
At
No spark, no nothing.
no spark, nothing. It's not a Mike White situation. Mike White at least had some statistics in college, and let me see. Uh, American Mike White quarterback 1995. So yeah, so Mike White also played for two different teams in college. He had 74 touchdowns and 31 interceptions
Yeah,
in his
that's all.
four.
That's a bit different. That's a bit different.
He had almost nearly 14. That's nearly 1,400 attempts.
Okay. Yeah. So, cut from a different cloth. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, so similar to Name That Stadium. Anybody who's watching, hit us up, answer our question of the week. What do you think about Tim Boyle? Is he going to give us a spark or not? Probably not, but there's probably some crazy diehard Lions fans that are saying, "This is it. This is what we needed. He's the next Brady. He's coming out of nowhere." But it'll never happen. And so I don't know, James. That's all I got for this week, man. You got any closing thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, hey, anybody who's still out there, we hope you liked the show. If you did, give us the thumbs up, hit us with a like, whatever platform you're on. And if you really like us, hit that subscribe button. James, like always, man, it was fun. I hope you have a good night, dude.
You too.
All right. See ya.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.